Gold's big, beautiful breakout just won't stop. Key recession signals are flashing red as subprime car loan delinquencies are at their highest level ever. Robinhood is about to join the S&P 500 and so much more. In today's video, we cover everything to know about the stock market right now. Let's get right to it.
Gold is on fire. There is a lot of fear hitting the stock market right now, and we can obviously see that traders are hedging. We can see gold prices made new all-time highs at $3,646 per ounce. Like we're saying, things are getting out of control, and as we start to look at, let's say, some of these flashing economic indicators today, we're going to have a lot on our hands. Mike, I know that we've been talking about this a lot during this gold rally, but it's been fantastic, and there's been a lot of viewers that have been following along and making a lot of good trades and money from this run. I'm definitely looking for it to continue, and we can see here that, hedging has been something that's been going on all year long. Throughout 2025, we've just seen a lot of inflows into gold, and there's obviously a lot of fear that's creeping into the market, and I would say some of this jobs data has obviously sparked it in the short term.
No doubt. And I saw a funny statement today where some people are looking at this gold chart right now and they're saying what it really is, more than anything else, is a global pivot in trust. As the dollar is continuing to get devalued, we can see gold hit a new all-time high today of $3,646 an ounce. It has been green 8 of the last 9 days, and this is just one big, beautiful breakout. So it's safe to say that, clearly, we are not in day one of this breakout. Gold has been ripping for a little bit now. Many can look at this chart and say it's getting to that point where it's a little bit overextended. But as we've seen with gold many times in the past, when this thing runs, it tends to run for a little bit. So, Tom, when you look at gold right now, what's going through your mind and what are you seeing on the charts?
Whenever I look at gold, obviously right now we're getting a little bit overextended, and I would say in the ultra short term, I could expect some volatility. Like if we go back to gold, whenever it starts to get these good breakouts in the short term, there are periods where it will pull back for a few trading days, and I am worried about that starting to happen here as this overall run is played out. Like if we measure this nice run here that was a nice 18% pop, and we throw it over here, gold obviously isn't quite like to that point, right? At least from this recent bottom here. So, there obviously could be some good opportunities with gold going forward. And I think it's going to be very important to keep it on the radar. Like tomorrow, if we start to see some good price action like we saw today, you could go look at GLD possibly for some options trades. I know a lot of people were following along today and rode the rally higher. And I think it's one of those situations where ride the rally until it stops, but just understand that at some point there could be a slight pullback. But again, the overall gold rally is pretty extravagant, and we are seeing a lot of good rips and breakouts that are occurring here, Mike. So it's one of those situations where it's like ride the rally, but obviously be a little worried about a possible short-term pullback.
Right, because how could it be otherwise? When you have something that is as in play as gold is right now for, good reason, there's no way that you can't, not have it on the radar. So, be cautious of when it will pull back, because it's not just going to be green every single day. It's having great moves right now, and it's definitely worth keeping on the radar. But even check out ticker symbol SLV as well. This is silver. It's not as explosive as gold, but it actually did hit its highest price in 14 years today, which is certainly a great sign, and somewhat similar to how the crypto market works, where a lot of times when you see Bitcoin truly ripping and getting all the attention, it has good effects on other smaller cryptos. Gold and silver kind of have a similar dynamic, where when gold is really doing well, it also helps lift silver up too. So keep these two on the radar. They are going crazy. But talking more about what's going on under the hood in the economy right now, we're definitely seeing some crazy stuff as the car market bubble is bursting. We can see that subprime auto loan delinquency rates have now crossed above 5% for the first time in history, which is kind of scary to say. And this rate has more than doubled over the last 3 years, and delinquency rates are now around 1.5 percentage points above the 2008 financial crisis peak. Tom, what is going on here?
This is terrible for the economy, and it definitely shows that there is a lot of pressure on consumers right now. I think that this is definitely a crazy recession signal, and whenever we start to go forward, of course, this is something that has happened a lot during these times of recession. Like we can see going into 2020, again, with COVID, we started to see these subprime auto loans explode. Again, going into 2008 and throughout that situation, the delinquency rates exploded there as well. So I think that there's definitely some good data and some good thoughts to take from this. And going forward, of course, it's just another piece of information that kind of supports that the economy might not be doing as good as the market might make it look like.
Right, especially when we're still so close to all-time highs, but there's even some other data that basically shows that construction spending is falling off quite a bit as well. It fell by around 2.8% year over year in July, which is actually one of the biggest drops, again, since the 2008 financial crisis. And this is important because we really only see drops like this during times of recession. We can see, like on this chart, those gray boxes in the background represent recessions, and we can see whenever we see big drops in construction spending, it always goes along with those times. This is actually the 6th consecutive monthly decline, which is not good. And then month over month, construction spending has declined in 10 of the past 11 months, which is the longest streak, again, since the financial crisis.
More pressure on consumers, right? I know that it might not be quite like the auto delinquencies nonetheless, but I do think that it's just another flashing indicator that shows, okay, we might be heading towards a recession. And I know that, in 2022, that they didn't really want to call the recession, and everybody's been saying that they changed the definition of it. I know a lot of people still say it's 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. So if we end up seeing that play out, of course, obviously, we'll be pretty worried. I will say, though, Mike, whenever we look at the overall market in general, and we just start to look at all of these flashing indicators, we're still very close to all-time highs in general. Like the SPY just made a brand new all-time high actually on Friday. So, funny enough, we made a brand new all-time high. We rejected, we're falling down. The SPY went very flat today. We can see just how flat it truly was, and it really reacted a lot around the 647.50 support, even at the early part of the morning and at the end of the day as well. So I think going into tomorrow, that's going to be a very critical area of support to watch. And if we see the SPY break under that, I'm definitely going to have that bigger support range from 643 to 644 on the radar for a test once again. I'm pretty worried here with the way that SPY could not get back above 650, which is a very key resistance before that all-time high up around 652. Of course, if we break 652, we're up into uncharted territory, so that's going to be a pretty crazy situation as new highs are made. But I think 650 and ultimately 647.50 are the 2 most important levels to watch going into tomorrow to see, like, look, are we going to get out of this range? And once the range breaks, there could be a good directional move there.
Yeah, and the market is in such an interesting position right now where, like you pointed out, we have all of these key levels that we're very close to. But, like, yes, the market made all-time highs on Friday, but look at that price action. It was horrible. It made all-time highs, but it sold off hard, shortly after the market opened. The market, just chopped around for most of today. And, like, yes, we have key supports right below us as we head into some pretty important data. We can see, looking at the market for tomorrow, we do have some payrolls revisions data set to release 30 minutes after open. And this is important because, as we know, the Federal Reserve is, really looking at the labor market right now to, kind of combat this increasing, problem that we're having with unemployment. So they're going to start to cut interest rates soon. We can see that looking closer at some of this payrolls data that we have been consistently seeing negative revisions throughout basically all of 2025, and it started out right in the beginning in January, and it has lasted basically every month since, where like the initial payrolls data comes in, but then they revise it oftentimes in a worse way. So we're going to get another revision tomorrow, which will tell us kind of a little bit more of the truth, I guess you can say, which can certainly move the market, especially given, how focused everyone is on rate cuts coming up. But then also we do have more of like a hidden event tomorrow where it's not on the economic schedule, where Apple is actually having a hardware event at 1 p.m. Eastern time. They're supposedly going to release their thinnest iPhone ever. So, we'll see what happens there. But considering, how large of a company Apple is, when it moves, it certainly does have like market moving potential. So that should be interesting.
Exactly. And, Apple has been a stock that whenever you look at it over the past year or even just within 2025 in general, it hasn't really had that explosiveness that other companies have had. It's really failed to break out to a new all-time high this year. We can see the all-time high just under that 260 resistance. So, if we have a good event here, maybe it can help keep this overall recovery going from these April lows. It has been recovering back again, maybe not as quick as some other companies, but this will be a big deal for them because, of course, they've been in the news a lot the past year about China, obviously with tariffs. And if they come out with some good headlines about the iPhone, it's exactly what could spark some good movement. And that could even lead into it possibly spilling over into the S&P as well.
1,000%. And then let's also not forget about the last major economic data point, which is the inflation data that will release 1 hour before open on Thursday. The Fed is about to cut interest rates on September 17th. And unless this data comes in like really bad, like if we see just inflation surging, then, we basically have rate cuts like baked in. But this will be important. We'll talk more about this on Wednesday. But besides that, Tom, we do have some important earnings. Nothing too crazy for tomorrow and the rest of the week, but I wanted to showcase this to everyone so everyone can be aware of them. But what I would say is even more important than the earnings lineup is the S&P 500 new stocks lineup, we'll call it, which we can see here. Robinhood is officially joining the S&P 500. I know a lot of people have been waiting a very long time for this, and it is set to replace Caesars Entertainment on September 22nd. And Tom, Robinhood went insane today.
The price action was out of this world, I would even call it, Mike, and it was up 15%, and it ran up a lot, of course, on Friday and after hours, but of course today it had a great continuation right from open, and I know a lot of people ended up catching this overall move. And whenever I look at Robinhood, it has been on fire in 2025. It's actually had quite the run. If we go to the very beginning of this year, right around January 2nd, it was trading for just under 40 a share, around 38.50, and now it ran up to 117, pretty much up 204%. And as we look at, let's say, Robinhood in the short term, it is approaching its old all-time high and key resistance around $118. So this is going to be a critical range to break above. But again, the S&P inclusion news could definitely get it done. So I'm going to have this one on the radar very carefully over the next couple weeks for that new all-time high breakout. And of course, AppLovin shared in with a lot of that drama today as well, rising 11.5%. But Mike, talking about these two stocks, they had some pretty crazy intraday price action, but it didn't compare at all to ticker symbol OCTO. So this is 8Co Holdings, and what they're essentially doing is they're planning to pursue a WorldCoin treasury strategy. They said that they're going to sell $250 million worth of stock in a private placement transaction to buy up WorldCoin tokens, and they're kind of doing what MicroStrategy has done and what BMNR has done as well. So I find this to be very interesting. Dan Ives is now chairman of the board of this one, kind of like with BMNR, how Tom Lee ended up becoming chairman of the board. So very crazy situation. But Mike, I think the craziest thing is that the stock closed up 3,000%.
It's certainly overextended, but of course there's no saying, how overextended, it will get. As we look at this stock heading into tomorrow, Tom, clearly it's a very high risk, very high reward ticker. What are some key points that are on your radar?
Yeah, I think that firstly, there's a very crucial intraday resistance that used to be support intraday today, right around $57 to 60. Now, this is going to be a very crazy stock, so it's not going to be something where a support level might be perfect, right? You might have to give or take a couple dollars and also realize that the volatility is just going to be that great with it. But if we do end up seeing a drop, I am going to be watching for $30 possibly as support, being a nice whole dollar level there. But I did like how it bounced a lot around 34 today as well. So there's a few intraday areas. Of course, I will be watching the $70 resistance where it peaked out around the end of the day, and then of course the high from today where the stock was going crazy.
Sounds good. All right, well, besides that, let's jump right into some setups and predictions then. And a stock that's definitely on my radar is PDD, and it is to the upside. We recently had a $10.2 million big money trade with this one, with the 121 strike calls for October 3rd of 2025. PDD has been kind of chopping around over these past few trading days, and we have been seeing a lot of good bullishness with some other Chinese stocks like Alibaba, which actually had a pretty good day today. And these stocks are definitely on my radar because as U.S. markets are, you could just say, slowing down a little bit, at least over the past few trading days, Chinese stocks have been doing pretty well, especially, if you're looking at the right ones. And considering PDD has had such a large recent big money play with it, it's definitely on my radar. These calls are already in the money, and the expiration's pretty soon. So it's definitely on my bullish radar. It would be great to see a breakout past that $125.80 area, and even better if it can get through like $126.50. If that happens, great. If PDD doesn't really make a meaningful move to the upside, at least to like 125.70 or so, I would find it hard to justify placing this setup as like a shorter term trade.
Yeah, it does seem like there's been a lot of great price action out of the Chinese stocks lately, so I will be watching PDD to see if they could maybe have one of those crazy runs like Baba ended up having today. That would be awesome to see, but with my first setup, I'm actually looking at CoreWeave, and I'm looking at a possible double bottom on the daily chart. We can see CoreWeave has been pulling back quite a bit recently, and I'm watching for a possible dip buy scenario as this double bottom starts to play out. Now, again, I don't think that you necessarily need to look at this double bottom and maybe look at CoreWeave back up to $150 or anything like that. And, there's really no reason for that given the way that it's set up right now. If we actually look at the risk reward, we can see that there's a good support around 85, like I said. So if we break under that, just down to like 84, somewhere right around that range, that's where you could stop out. I think that you could target a possible break towards like $120, and we can see that puts the risk reward ratio just over 2. So I really like the setup here. I like the risk reward. CoreWeave is a crazy stock, so it will have some big fluctuations, but the big thing is, letting that support hold up.
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely had some good movement today. I will also keep it close on watch. But another ticker that's definitely on my radar is Microsoft, and it's to the downside. This was one of the weaker performing Mag 7 stocks on Friday, and it's just been selling off hard ever since the beginning of August. If we look at this one on a daily chart, we can see Microsoft had that initial gap up back in the beginning of August, you can say, from earnings, and then it just sold off ever since. There's just been a lot of selling going on with this one, and it's definitely on my radar for a potential break below the $495 level for tomorrow. If we can break through there, the next major support is at $492.37, and then past that, $490. Again, if we see meaningful pressure to get below $495, I definitely like the risk reward playing it to the downside. But if that doesn't happen, there's no need to force this.
495 was pretty critical, and that was one heck of a bounce off of that this morning, so I'll be watching it as a very critical support, Mike. With my second setup, I'm watching UUUU for a possible upside continuation setup. If we go to the daily chart with Energy Fuels, we can see that it actually started pulling back over the past couple of weeks, but as we can see over the past 5 trading days or so, we've been starting to bounce back up off of this dip. And what I'm watching for is a good continuation for a possible day trade tomorrow. We we can see it's just under $12 per share today. So if we're able to really rip above 12, then that's where I'm really watching for that breakout to occur. And if we go to the Bookmap, we look at the X-ray vision, we can see around $11.75 all the way up to 12. There's quite a bit of sellers stacked up here. So I think really waiting for a solid $12 breakout would be the way to go, and never bad to look at the X-ray vision either.
Definitely. All right, sounds good. Well, let's get right into today's momentum plays then. And with the first one, we have BitMine, ticker symbol BMNR, to the upside.
If BMNR can break out above 44.50, then watch for a continuation.
Sounds good. With the next one, we have NEO, ticker symbol NIO, also to the upside.
Here we go, another one of the Chinese stocks that had some great momentum today. If they can break out above $6.23, then watch them up as well.
And then with the last one, we have Sunrun, ticker symbol RUN, but to the downside.
That was a nasty drop today, down 6.93% at the close. But if it could break under the low of the day and support right around 1650, then watch for a downside continuation.
Perfect. So these three tickers are on the radar for potential continuations if and only if they break through the levels listed. As always, setups come and go, so how you trade is much more important than what you trade. Protect yourself above all else. Keep your stop losses tight and, just don't lose a lot. Protect your risk, know why you're getting into the trade you're getting into, and just trade making smart, long-term oriented, disciplined decisions. You can learn all about how to do this for free in the Key Lessons channel of the StockedUp Discord, so definitely consider checking that out. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's $1.3 million big money trade, and we are looking at ticker symbol GPRO, GoPro. I'm sure many people have heard of this one before. It's an American tech and camera company. And today, the trader here bought the one strike call options that expire on April 17th of 2026. Looking at this stock, it did have a very good day today as it popped up by over 15%. There wasn't any huge news with it. GoPro has been trending to the upside pretty well over the past few months, and it's one of those stocks where, when it's below $2 a share especially, it's very volatile. Naturally, the company isn't in the greatest position, which, certainly makes this like a higher risk, higher reward type setup. What I do like about this, though, is that these call options are pretty deep in the money. The one strikes are, again, pretty deep in the money. There is time to this expiration, which is also good. There was a fair amount of capital put into this trade, $1.3 million. The stock is running up without any major news, which is a good sign for an unusual options trade. And I think it's a very interesting setup. I do like how it has a lot of time to it, too. And I'm very excited to see how this one does. So either way, keep it on the radar.
Yeah, it goes all the way out to April 17th of next year, and that's quite a bit of money, like you said, too, being $1.3 million thrown into this. Now, if we zoom out on a GoPro daily chart, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of room to go, if I'm being honest, Mike. This is quite the pullback that we've seen with GoPro since 2021. And of course, during 2022, my gosh, this stock got demolished. But yeah, it's looking like it's coming back, though, in the short term. And it's now back above $1, holding above it in a great way. And today was the very first, I would say, bigger green candle coming off of this recent small dip. And I think that's a great sign for a possible continuation over the next few trading days. I know that this play has a lot more time to it, but hopefully this uptrend continues and, gets it even more in the money, especially quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a volatile stock, which is good and bad. Some days you're going to have some rough pullbacks, but, when it moves to the upside, it's volatile. And, as you showed when you zoomed out, the stock, it moves a lot. And, it's at a point right now where, the trader in this case is coming in with a fair amount of capital with deep in the money options that have time to them. So it should be interesting. Keep it close on watch. And if you're new to the channel, definitely make sure to subscribe so you can get our videos recommended to you more often. We showcase multi-million-dollar big money trades in every single video, whether you're looking at GoPro in this video or in a best case recently, especially GLD call options that we called out a few weeks ago before this major run-up started happening. We highlighted a $4.5 million big money trade there. Again, we cover big money trades every single day, along with daily SPY levels and analysis, earnings, economic events, general market information, hot stocks to watch, and literally everything you need to know about the stock market every single day. And again, if you subscribe, you'll get our videos recommended to you more often. But we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Peach Mango in the Stocked Up Discord, who had a beautiful day trading Robinhood. So we can see he had some great gains all around. So huge shout out to you, Peach Mango. Keep up the great work going forward. It's awesome to see profits like this one. If you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to get full access to the X-Ray Vision Bookmap. We cover it quite frequently in these videos, and it basically shows you exactly where key buy and sell orders are stacked up. As Tom showcased today with UU, basically we could see exactly where large sellers are at, so we can know once price breaks through those levels, there's a significant shift in the supply and demand dynamic. You could also see key points, of course, in terms of support and so many other things. Definitely check it out. Stocked Up viewers do save if you use that link down below. Basically, a special offers tab will appear, and you can save quite a bit. It's a really good deal, so definitely check it out. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.